My grandmother, Ronna Wallhouse, of whom I am named after, passed away from breast cancer when she was 46. Years later, when my auntie was also diagnosed with breast cancer, they tested her for something called the BRCA1 gene mutation, which drastically increases the risk of developing breast and ovarian cancer. They tested my dad too, and both tests were positive, which meant there was a 50-50 chance I would have the gene as well. I was 21 at the time, living my life, about to get married. Getting cancer was the furthest thing from my mind. So after talking with a genetic specialist, Dr. Leslie Andrews, I decided not to get tested. I felt like I didn't need to know yet. 3 years later, I was married, in love, living in New York, excited to start a family with my husband, Rob. But after a few months of trying without success, we went to see a fertility specialist. I wasn't worried. I figured this happens to lots of people, and I trusted that the specialist would be able to help us. In one of our early appointments, he asked about gene mutations, and I mentioned BRCA1. He asked if I was going to get tested, and I said yes, but I wanted to wait until I was back in Sydney with my family in case the news was bad and I needed their support. Maybe he didn't believe me because he tested anyway without my consent. And one morning, a few days later, a nurse called to tell me the test was positive. I had the gene mutation. I was shocked. I hadn't prepared myself for the results. I didn't ask to be tested. Despite this, we went back to the clinic because we needed their help to start our family. The specialist was apologetic, but during our next consultation, he told us about something called PGD. Basically, it means screening embryos during IVF and removing any that test positive for the BRCA1 mutation. He didn't talk about it as a choice. With a 50-50 chance of passing on the gene, he implied that if I didn't test the embryos, I was doing something wrong. But the way I saw it, if my parents had thought that way, I would never have been born, as if my birth should have been prevented. Going down the path of PGD testing would have required doing IVF, but we went down a different path. Had it not worked, we would have been faced again with the PGD decision, and if that had happened, I would have chosen not to test. Over the next few years, we had two beautiful girls, Leah and Avi. We lived in New York and Boston. We studied and worked. We traveled. Eventually, we moved back to Sydney, and I started working as a preschool teacher at Kesatora. I still wasn't worried about breast cancer. I felt the risk would be later, maybe in my 40s. Then my first cousin was diagnosed. She was 32. Her sister was 29 and decided to have a preventative double mastectomy. They also have the BRCA1 gene mutation. I was worried, but I wasn't ready to make a decision like that. Around the same time, I fell pregnant but miscarried at 10 weeks. Immediately after, I went for a breast cancer screening, which was recommended to do after each pregnancy. All was fine. We kept trying to fall pregnant for a good year, and with the help of fertility treatment we did. But this pregnancy ended in termination at 12 weeks due to some complications. Again, I went in for another screening. This time, I had a strange feeling while I was waiting for my results. More than the usual worry and anxiety that was forever in the background during this time in my life. Living with uncertainty of possible breast cancer because of a gene mutation, trying to become a mother. The doctor came out and said I needed to be checked again. There was something abnormal. I remember thinking, this is finally it. The appointment where they tell me I have cancer. They recommended an MRI guided biopsy with something called gadolinium. But it also turned out I was pregnant again, 2 months after the termination. And I was told that gadolinium can cause miscarriage and harm to the baby. So I had this choice to make again. Do a test that's necessary for my health, but which also could put my baby at risk. I discussed it with my high-risk OB and MotherSafe, and eventually decided to proceed with the test, but only after the first trimester. Waiting was awful. All I could do was think of risks to my baby. Then I would think, but what if I have cancer? What if it's growing right now? What will that mean for my other children? It's hard to describe what that's like. I was extremely nervous. I did the test. The results showed no cancer. It was just some tissue from a previous pregnancy. 6 months later, our son was born. We named him Adin. It means gentle. Nothing about this period was gentle, though, and he's not very gentle either. Maybe it's a wish. After Adin was born, of course, I had to screen again. I couldn't continue to live with the constant worry. It was only a matter of time. Every woman on my dad's side had been affected by cancer. I was determined to be a provider. It's a word in the BRCA community that means making the choice to prevent. I spoke with Dr. Andrews again. She was so incredibly helpful. Actually, she is here tonight. Leslie, you were such a huge help. Your guidance and support gave me so much confidence and ease. I knew I could put my trust in you. Thank you. Another amazing help during this period was the BRCA Sisters Facebook group, a group of about 15 women, mainly from the Sydney Jewish community. A lot of the women in the group have been through various different types of surgeries, and discussing all of the different pathways with them was comforting, and learning from their experiences was invaluable. In 2023, at 33 years old, I decided to have a preventative double mastectomy with a DEP flap reconstruction. I was in theatre for 12 hours, then ICU for 3 days, then the ward for another 4, then a few weeks of slow recovery. My husband was amazing, my parents too, and my girls, Leah and Avi. They were so sweet, helping me reach for things, fetching me water. Since my surgery, I feel a weight has been lifted. There's still the big possibility of ovarian cancer one day. You can't screen for it. There's preventative surgery options. One day. For now, though, the big news is I'm grateful to Hashem that I'm pregnant again. I'm excited to welcome our 4th child to our strong and loving family. When my dad found out I had the BRCA gene mutation, I remember how sorry he felt, how he apologized to me. I can understand his guilt. If one of my children has it, I will feel the same way. But I never once blamed him. I feel blessed to have the love and support of my mum and dad, who have taught me what it means to be a good person. I feel blessed to have a husband who is a pillar of strength, who has only ever been supportive. I feel blessed to be the mother of 3 beautiful children, soon to be 4, please God. Carrying the gene is not a disability. It is something I've had to navigate in my life, with the help and support of an amazing village of people who don't have all the answers. Thank you.